Hi, welcome to the You've Changed podcast. My name is Kate Barron. This is the podcast where I talk to people in the entertainment industry about moments in their life that have changed them. And today I'm talking with the fabulous, fantastic, hilarious comedian, podcaster, writer, man extraordinaire, Lee Peart.
Wow.
What an intro, right?
What an intro.
Considering I met you a week ago.
I was thinking someone said a Google.
Yeah.
We met a week ago.
We met a week ago, and right away, you know, when you just meet people and you go, my people.
Oh, I felt the same.
Don't you think there's just like there's people that I meet, I'm like, okay, well, best of luck. Kind regards. See you in the future. Best of luck with your endeavors.
Well, it's so funny because like in green rooms, you'll meet people and then you think, well, we'll always see each other again. So it's always very like polite and blah, blah, blah. But yeah, we were straight in. I was like, hi, babes, like blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And it's actually refreshing to have a green room. Well, it was only us in the green room, to be fair. But like even just in gigs and stuff where it's like, oh, it's just dry conversation and
or people like bigging up like, oh, I did this and this and this. Have you done? And I'm like, I don't care.
Ball swinging is that
like I just like just kind of trying to be like that, but you're like dick swinging, ball swinging. Oh God. How are you?
I'm really good, thanks. I've got myself a little Paloma. I hope you don't mind.
Love that. You're day drinking tequila. Is that your drink of choice?
It never used to be because I think back in the day, tequila was like this gross. Like I have a mantra where it's like, I will never drink tequila if it has a sombrero on the lid. You know,
this is the only kind of tequilas I drink.
Well, because I used to have that, and I'd be like, yeah, tequila, and I was always one of these people that really wanted to like tequila.
Yeah,
but it was actually like it would burn your mouth. Anyway, there's so many nice tequilas now, so it's one of my drink of choice. Although I'm not really picky, I like a drink.
If I were to choose my one sort of spirit, it'd be vodka. Vodka's I
don't like vodka.
Vodka's my go-to. It was vodka soda used to be my drink of choice always at like the bars, or vodka water sometimes I would just do with some lemon squeeze in it. People are like, that's aggressive. And I was like, do you know Van Gogh vodka? Do they have that here?
No, I don't.
It's called Van Gogh vodka, and they had an espresso vodka. So it tasted like coffee, but it was just straight vodka, and you could just just drink it with ice, and it would be delicious. Well, get you really fucked up, but it's great.
Well, the thing is, I like a vodka cocktail.
Yes.
But I would never have I'd have a gin and tonic rather than a vodka soda.
I would now, if I was going out, I would probably do more like a gin and tonic. I prefer now or something like that. But I'm more of like a wine girl. Oh. I'm like a rosé in the summer, a white wine. And if I really want to get like a little bit loose-lipped and horny, then it's the red wine.
Oh, it doesn't make you horny?
Red wine makes me so horny. Oh, that is like my...
Should have bought a bottle.
Yeah, right? That would have been perfect.
Weird dynamic.
What's your drink?
Changed.
What would be your horny drink?
I don't really know. Maybe rosé.
Or just everything.
Oh, well, yeah, I would like everything. Well,
rosé is like a party one, though.
Well, also because I think I drink a lot of rosé in the sun.
Yeah.
So sun, like heat, makes me a bit horny.
Does it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I can't work out whether it's the heat or whether it's like people walk around in like shorts and t-shirts and stuff. Maybe it's a mix of them both.
Well, do you know they have people have more sex in warmer climate countries?
Do they?
Because I think it's something to do with like it's the heat. People are walking around in skimpier clothes because you just have to. And so because of that, I guess probably like so they have more sex like on like islands and stuff and island life. Yeah,
I'm thrilled that I can blame my lack of sex on Britain.
Yeah, blame it on the grey weather,
the climate,
here,
guys. It's the climate. It's not my fault.
No, you must have men throwing themselves at you. Are you in a relationship or no? No, you're not in a relationship. What's the longest relationship you've ever been in? Have you been in one of like a big crazy one?
You know, I've only ever been in one relationship, and it was a very complicated thing. It's probably what we're gonna discuss.
Oh shit! Okay.
My changed, but it was only when I kind of just turned 29.
Yeah.
But it was very complex. But I've never really been in a proper relationship, and I mean, obviously, you know, I'm doing all right for myself. I'm not like celibate.
Yeah. Trust me. I feel like you can catch a dick if you want to.
Well, I've been banned from Grindr.
No, you have not.
I've been banned.
You talked about that on stage.
Yeah.
Or I think I've heard you talk about this as a joke, or I've seen a clip or something.
No, maybe it was on my Instagram story.
Maybe it was on your Instagram that I saw, but I was like, this isn't real.
It's real.
How have you been banned?
I'm apparently impersonating myself.
Oh my... Oh.
Kate, as you well know, fame is a prison. I'm not saying I'm famous, but someone must have reported me saying
that you're impersonating.
And I'd choose someone else.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's...
So because it came up, it said you've been suspended, and I was thinking, oh, I've had one too many red wines, and I've probably
like
been
you
abusive
said,
to people.
Yeah. Oh my God, are you like that when you go online?
No.
Yeah, I'm on the scale of you're too nice to do that.
No, I'm not. Well,
or you're just too self-aware of like.
No, I do. Well, I actually got a community strike on my Instagram once. It was so funny because I applied for a blue tick about a year ago, and I didn't get it, and they were like, the reason you've not got it is because I had a community strike on my account, so it had gone against the terms of service. So I was like, what's the community strike? What have I done?
I have a blue check and you don't on Instagram.
Well, no, I have one now, thank God, because it expired.
Okay.
But it was so funny because I was like looking at this, like why I had the community strike, and I was like, what's gone on there? And it showed you that I'd been done for bullying and harassment. And basically, I'd had a few too many wines.
Yes.
And someone had commented like a snide comment on the video, as they always do.
Yeah.
And I replied saying, "Shut it, big gob." And that was
That's like, I'm sorry, but for internet hate speech, that is so mild. I get called like a dumb cunt regularly.
I know. And so, well, I don't know that you have.
In person in my family chats, and then also online. It's wild.
But obvious, and actually, like my friends know that I say "shut it, big gob" as a bit of a term of endearment. I'm like, shut it, big gob. Well, anyway, they reported me, and obviously the algorithm just goes, yeah, it's bullying and harassment. It was on there for a year.
I didn't even.
It was stuck with me.
But how do they take that seriously? But then on Facebook, you can be like death threats, and like say awful things to groups, and they're like, yeah, keep that algorithm pumping, keep the hate speech, Donald Trump. Like, we love that.
So I'm a little bit more careful now. You know, because also. You'll say something, and actually, I think we were talking about it the other day when we met actually, and you know, I did reply to, because I had a video that it did well, and so you naturally get people who love it and they comment, but a lot of the comments are abusive as well. Yeah, and so I wasn't replying to some of the bad comments, and it was so funny because like when you reply to the good comments, people go, "Oh, you're only replying to the good comments."
Yeah, like, obviously.
Yeah, but then I was only replying to the bad comments. I got, "Head up your ass much, only replying to the bad comments. That says a lot." I was like, I can't win.
You literally cannot win. Like this industry is all like push them up, tear them down. You know what I mean? Like it's so wild.
And people are mental on the internet.
Mental. But then when you actually call them out or privately speak to them, like it's so crazy. Like someone had to go at me, and then I saw them in person. Oh. And I had to go back at them, and they were like, "Oh, actually, I take back everything. I'm sorry. That was offside, whatever that was." And I'm like, if you're going to be this big dick, like whatever, I'm this, I'm that, I'm the other, then be that in person. If you do that online and you're a little bitch in person, I have zero respect for you. I had more respect if you would actually just tell me shut the fuck up in person.
Yeah.
But like you can't even stand behind the shit you say. No. And you're just a pussy. Like, no. That kind of stuff. But it's not even worth it because when you get into the online stuff, that fuels them more, right? If you get into the online hate.
Well, I spoke a bit about this on my podcast actually, but it was so funny because I was on holiday reading all the comments, and genuinely, and I mean this, they don't affect me.
Yeah.
Like, because I don't know, like I know I
need to get there.
Well, I have a few friends in the industry who get affected by some like mean stuff that people say, and I'm not. I just don't. I don't know what it is. Maybe they'll say something eventually where it's awful.
Yeah.
And, you know, I don't get loads, but there was this one who was just like, "Your voice is disgusting." Like,
I think you have a lovely voice.
Thank you. Personally. Well, I sent a link to my voiceover agent. I was like, tell them. But then, so then like they were saying all this. And so I was on this Sun Lounger and I was looking at this guy's, I thought, I'll go on his profile.
Yeah. Let's be toxic.
And he was going, you'll never amount to anything, you so-called comedian. They always put that in quote marks.
Of course.
So-called comedian. And he was like, you'll never amount to this. You'll never amount to that. You'll be so unsuccessful, all this. Anyway, so I thought, I'll go on his profile. So I'm like there, you know, margarita in hand, lying on a Sun Lounger and just laughing to myself. And I saw this reel that he'd done of this beauty tutorial. Yeah. And he was like, I get up in the morning, I do this. And so I was like, so I commented on his reel. Like so petty.
I love it though. I love the petty.
Because he was, you know, and so I thought I'll go on his, and I just put, "Oh my God, this deserved way more than 7 likes." I was like, so good. And that's all I put. He blocked me. I was like, don't come for me and start saying I'm unsuccessful when you're doing your stupid beauty serum shit and you can't even get into double figures.
But that is the way to get at people, right? If you're genuinely like, someone commented on one of a podcast episode that I posted on YouTube, and I'm really bad with like, I get so excited and I have like ADD, and so I interrupt. I'm really bad with interrupting people, so I have to like sit here and be like, let him talk, like just hold yourself back, whatever. And it's really hard for me. And so somebody was like, yeah, you should definitely keep interrupting your guests more. That makes for a great interview. Why don't you continue to cut them off? And I was like, yeah, fair play. I do that a lot. It's something I need to work on. And they're like, oh.
Damn it.
You know what I mean? They want me to be like, I should kill myself. You were right. I'm a piece of shit. But sometimes if you feed into what they want, they like go like, oh, that's all. Like, you know.
Yeah. Kill them with
just
kindness.
love the trolls that are like, you're such a fucking pathetic excuse. What a gross fucking woman. I hope you kill yourself. I can't believe you speak like this. And then you go to their Twitter profile and it says, God is good, spreading positivity and love in the world.
Be kind.
Yeah, you're like, oh my God. Love my 3 kids and my hubby.
Yeah, or there's always like a Bible verse.
A Bible verse. And you're just like, oh, you are, oh God. I love it when they're like, go to hell. I'm like, hell's going to be where all the fucking cool parties are. All my people with all the best drugs and booze.
Exactly. Well, Paul O'Grady recently died. And
I don't know who Paul O'Grady is.
So he was like this. He was called Lily Savage. It was a few weeks ago, but he was a big celebrity here, and he was a drag queen.
He was the drag queen who everyone was commemorating because he like did all of these things and made it very mainstream over here.
Yes,
right, okay. I don't know the name because I didn't grow up here.
No, and so he apparently recently, one of them, like, you know, stories came out of it, and someone recently said, "Oh, would you want to go to heaven, Paul?" And he said, "God, no, I wouldn't know anyone there." Like, and
oh my God,
was just
I love that.
like, line, and it was great. I was going to ask, but your logo has gone off.
Yes,
but like,
it has gone off, and it hasn't been put back up.
Oh, sorry to call that out, but I wanted to ask why
I was trying to ignore it.
Oh, were you?
There is a bath because the actual full picture is me in the bath.
Oh.
And so this is just the bottom corner kind of the, it's missing the top half of the picture, which is the whole album cover art of the podcast. But then this is just for this particular one.
So it was just you in the bath. But what?
But I'm like in a hoodie and jeans and stuff and sneakers. It's an empty bath. It's like a set.
Nice.
Do you know what I mean? It was done. I did a photo shoot for my Edinburgh Fringe last year of me, like, I was in like a ball pit in the bath. There was like all these different sets that we did, and then the ones that were post or whatever. And so this was an unused photo.
I didn't know whether it was like a metaphor.
It's a metaphor for, you know, doing just a deep douche and really getting in there.
Yes, nice.
And having your way. Just clean yourself out. Just change change yourself from the inside out, girl.
Well, I can't wait to be deeply douched.
Well, then let's get into it. Let's talk about your change. So again, you said you think you know what you want to talk about, but it doesn't have to be something huge. It could be whatever you want, something that sort of changed your path in your life.
Well, there was one of the obvious things for me was probably coming out. But I actually think the biggest change was my breakup, like a relationship. And I was in a real toxic relationship. I met this guy. I came out when I was 19.
That's young. That's pretty.
Well, for some people, it's late.
Yeah, I guess Yeah. I feel like that's relatively young, but I guess you're out of the house by then, so that's more of like a.
I'd moved to Manchester, so I'm from quite a little small town called Grimsby, and then I moved to Manchester to study performing arts. I know, I'm shocked.
And then you came out after that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go into drama school. Oh, but BT dubs, I'm gay.
But the thing is, I'd always kind of I wasn't one of because I knew people who weren't gay, but then were like secretly, you know, had sex with people and blah, 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 which, you know, no judgment of. But I was always very much like, I'm not. And I didn't really think I was, even though I think I just repressed it so much in myself that I just was lying to myself. But because of that, I was quite guarded. And I was always very like, you know, I'm 32 now. So 10 years ago, I wouldn't probably be able to sit in a podcast studio like this and talk quite candidly about stuff. And this is where it'll go full circle of how I've changed, because I'd always like, if there was anything with friends or with people who would ask a semi-serious question, it would be deflected with humor. It would be, it would just be walls. And then what happened is that kind of translated to love life. I was just, I'd go on dates with people and it was like an act. I always remember my friend and I were at dinner, and he said, and some other friends that we didn't know as well walked in, and we were sat having a kind of a serious conversation about his family. And he said it was so weird. He said it because you saw these friends, they came up and he said, I watched you switch into a totally different character. Darling, oh, like, and it was all, and he said, and it was odd because you went into that mode. And we all have those modes, but I was so kind of, there was such a detachment between show me and guarded me as opposed to the real me, I guess. And so then when I was about 29, I met this guy who was in an open relationship. Red flag. Wish I'd seen the red flags.
I mean, yeah, it's like open relationships are just it's hard. It's very difficult and you have to be very secure within yourself to even entertain getting involved in something like that. To me, I'm not. I like monogamy. I want to be with. I can't do it.
Yeah, and I wasn't looking at that point for a relationship.
So you're like, perfect.
So I was like, so I felt safe and I felt, so what usually happens with me is I would go on 1, 2 or 3 dates. It was usually the third date rule where it would then be like, if the person wanted to carry on, I'd go like, ooh, and run away.
Yeah.
However, because I had this kind of pseudo safety of the open relationship that this guy was in, the only way I would describe it is, if you've ever been like out to sea and you're paddling and the tide's out. And then all of a sudden you don't notice, but you turn around and the tides come in and you're in the middle of the sea and you're like, oh shit, I'm in the middle of the sea. Like, and that's how it felt. It all kind of happened by accident because I felt like in a real safety zone of, well, there's nothing in this. Like he's got his long-term partner and this is just a casual thing. But then what happened is
you fell in love.
Lily fell in love.
Yeah.
And so, I think I often look back and I think, I wonder if he was single and I met him, like I wouldn't have fallen in love with him. Like it's something I have to ask about myself.
No, that is really interesting though. I remember speaking to my therapist once because I had just even like a history of dating kind of unavailable men for various reasons. Like even one of them was like, lived in different countries and different cities, right? Yeah. And she's like, you're setting yourself up constantly to go, this is going to end. And you already know it's not going to work because it just geographically can't even, or because of other reasons, the odds are against you. So when it does inevitably end, which they always do, you can go, well, none of it was really my fault that it ended.
Yeah.
And you have to start looking at yourself. And those are like, when you hear those like hard home truths, you go like, ah, fuck.
Yeah.
Am I the drama?
Yeah. Is it me? And there were so many red flags. I remember seeing a meme at the time where it's like, I saw all the red flags, but I just thought it was a carnival. And it was literally like, you just ignore.
Yeah, it's too much fun on the ride.
And I've spoken about open relationships before, and I have many friends that are in them, and they work. Same. And but I've always said the only way they work is if they're both on the same page. Not me, if they in the open relationship are. And they weren't. They were masking something themselves or what kind of, didn't work for them. Anyway, so then what happened is I fell for him quite badly and he fell for me. Like,
okay.
And there was this, I was like the guy.
Was it like just totally open relationship, or was it like kind of poly, like primary partner, and then you came in?
They weren't having sex.
Okay. More companionate.
Yeah, they lived together. They'd been together for, 10 years.
Right, okay.
They'd stopped having sex. They'd done that thing where it was like, we'll have threesomes, and then they stopped having that, and then they started seeing other people.
Yeah.
And then they had these like rules, these stupid rules that I just used to follow. And looking back, it's so mental because it's almost like, if it was you, for example, and as a friend, I would be like, what, babe, what are you doing?
Yeah.
So I was watching I was watching myself do the things that, because I'm quite logical and I'm quite rational, I think. So my friends would come to me and they'd ask me for advice, and I wouldn't be like, you're an idiot, you need to do this. But I would go, okay, well, let's dissect this quite mathematically and logically. Well, I wasn't doing that. I was
But
just
we're
like,
always all better at like giving advice than taking it, right?
I was swept up in the
I'm
emotion.
great at giving advice and being really great, but then I can't take it for shit with myself. Like it's just,
No, but I'm quite good at, knowing what to do. But in this situation, I'm quite good in terms of career. I feel like I make good instinctive choices, finance, blah, 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 blah. But for this, because I was so wrapped up in this weird new feeling of what was love and what was...
And this is your first love.
Love.
It's even more intense because this is like, I have never felt this before.
Babes, honestly. And when we got to the breakup, which I'll get to, but because I was like 29 approaching 30, I was so like struggling with how I reacted through this breakup because my rational brain would be like, you're acting like an 18-year-old child. And most people, if they have a first breakup, maybe they are like 16, 17 and they're like, oh, this is the worst thing ever. But you can kind of go, you're young, whereas I was like, I'm a 29-year-old man,
Yeah, but emotionally and romantically, you are at a more juvenile place.
Exactly.
But that was the same with me. I grew up as a fat loser. No one dated me. No one fucked me. No, I waited till I got older for that and to get into my first proper relationship was when like I had like ones that were like kind of situationship fucked up ones, but my first proper one when I was 28. So I know exactly what you're talking about. And you're like, you're doing all of these things that your friends did when they were 17 and 18 or 16. And you're exactly right. You feel stupid because I should know better by now, but you don't because you almost like in this stunted growth period. And and it's just like, I mean, that's just how it is. So I don't think you can be too hard on yourself.
No, and I was trying not to, but there were certain times where it was like, and it was so toxic. I look back and...
Give me some example of the good toxic shit.
It was just...
I love hearing toxic behavior.
Well, what I learned in therapy afterwards is he got me addicted to the feeling that he'd turned a corner. So whenever something would happen, for example, when we'd had a little argument and he cheated on me because he went to a gay sauna on that weekend and decided to just go to some gay sauna where he'd fuck a load of people. I then found out about that and he was like, I'm going to change. And it was that feeling of, oh, this awful thing that he's done is going to trigger him into realizing that I'm the one he needs to be with.
And he's going to change for me. Like, I'm so good that he's going to change for me.
I remember,
it's all ego.
Yeah. And I remember one time his boyfriend, who then became his ex-boyfriend because they split up, but they wanted to stay in each other's lives. So they carried on living together. They carried on, creating that, but they weren't in a relationship anymore. They were becoming best friends, even though they were... that still attachment. It was so odd. Yeah. And it's so complicated. But I remember I went...
They're just fucking being Bert and Ernie and you have to come in like Big Bird looking like an asshole all the time.
And he was having his cake and eating it too.
Yeah.
But there was one time where he left me in the middle of what we were having a date night because his ex-partner needed picking up and he just got up and was like, I need to pick him up, see ya. And it was like, oh, okay, bye. I've just ordered a takeaway. There was a time where I went to the theatre and I saw his ex-partner just staring at me from a few seats away. And I was like, oh, he's at the theatre. Yeah. And then I was like, out of interest, you knew I was going to the theatre tonight. I was going to say his name, but I won't.
Yeah.
Possibly for legal reasons. But I was like, Lucifer was there.
That's a good name.
I was like, Voldemort was over there. And he knew. He tipped him off that I was going to be at the theatre.
So, but like...
We happened to have booked tickets on the same day.
Yeah.
And he'd apparently said, just to let you know, just be aware that Lee's going tonight. But then didn't tell me, didn't give me the grace of...
Do you believe they weren't fucking still or they weren't involved?
They 100% weren't.
Okay.
I mean, I'd say 99%. There was literally like zero attraction from one side of them. So I totally believe that.
Okay.
And the other guy fell in love with someone else.
Intimacy things.
Yeah, it was control over each other's life as well.
Yeah.
They had this shared calendar that they wouldn't let go of. So, we'd be out. And I remember I was driving him to Soho Farmhouse.
Yeah.
Sorry, he was driving me, but I'd booked
Which
to go.
I've still never been to and I really want to go to. I've heard it's beautiful.
It's lovely.
Yeah.
Well, I'd booked us to go for my birthday.
Yeah.
and he was driving us, and then like popped up on his phone, you know, that's connected to the car, like, so and so Lucifer going to Equus tonight and all this, and I just kept getting these alerts on his car phone, like of his ex-partner's diary, and I was like, get off the fucking shared calendar. But then what would happen is he would tell me that I wasn't lenient enough and I wasn't doing this, and
so gaslighty,
and
just like blaming you for your response to this rather than going like, oh, that behavior is problematic. Going, your reaction to it is making me feel like a dickhead. Like, oh my God.
He used to say to me all the time, and it used to really fuck me off, you only see things in black and white. And I'd be like, I am literally...
But you're the one trying to bend over backwards and make all this work.
And I remember once when we kind of finished things, and we should have finished things, and we should have... I wish I'd had the strength looking back to finish it a lot earlier.
Of course, we all do.
And it was right to do so, and I don't think we were right for each other. And I always remember saying, you know, I couldn't have started that relationship. But imagine if we were still together, I'd always have that foundation of, what if his ex-partner hadn't wanted someone else? Like, that was the only reason, because he was still obsessed with him. But
well, obviously.
Yeah, and I remember saying, I remember crying in my flat, like, and I just like was in this kind of like vulnerable state, and I was like, out of interest, what could I have done better? And he was like, you could have been a bit more lenient. And I remember thinking, no, you are an arsehole. But he was like, I used to think he was the kindest person I'd ever met.
Yeah.
And because he had this real vulnerability about him, he had this kindness. And this is what kind of has made me realize, and I guess changed the way I like think of others is, and I was weirdly talking to my friend about this earlier. I said, people can gaslight, but not necessarily be a gaslighter. Or people can be, you know, they can have narcissistic qualities, but not be a narcissist.
Yeah.
And there was so much that he did that I often would, you know, let him off the hook for. Because I'm like, he's struggling, blah, 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 blah. But there was just this lack of awareness from him. He was so kind of insecure in himself that he couldn't take any form of criticism. So
do you think it was lack of awareness, or do you think it was very intentional and he was actually very smart and it was manipulation, making you believe it was lack of awareness? I feel like a lot of men, well, a lot of people in general, but my experience, obviously, because I date men, have been, they sort of play stupider than they are. We know they're not, you know, I know you're not stupid. So you're doing this, you know exactly what the results are going to be. These are the consequences of what you have done. Yeah. So to be like, well, I didn't know, it's such bullshit to me.
I think with him, he couldn't take any self-reflection, which was my biggest gripe. It used to frustrate me. And in the aftermath of the breakup, I was rageful at points where he just would not accept any accountability. So what it was because he never had that self-reflection, and I could go, I was a bit of a dick there, or what I said there was just that he couldn't do it. So he would create this false narrative and gaslight himself. He used to gaslight himself. He used to lie to himself and believe what he did. Anyway, I could go on about this for ages, but my point is, it totally, I remember having a conversation with the same friend who had seen me that time and said, I went into show mode. And he was like, this is probably one of the first conversations I've ever had with you as a friend, where he's like, you're so being authentically you. And I always look back on this situation and I always say the landing was not worth the fall. So, you know, it was awful. Like, I remember one time, and I don't want to get too deep about it, but like, it's a comedy podcast. I'm going.
No, we can talk about whatever. We've had some people get very emotional, so we can get.
But I remember one time actually walking out the house through, like, I was so upset. I've never felt suicidal before. I've never struggled with like anxiety or depression or anything like that. I've been very lucky, touch wood. And I remember walking out of my flat, and I was on a big main road at the time where I used to live, and these buses would just go. And I remember thinking, I could just throw myself in front of this bus right now. Like, but I remember then getting really upset because that thought jumped into my head.
Yeah.
And because
that's scary.
And because it then immediately jumped out, I remember thinking, and you know when people go, oh, it's so selfish, they commit suicide, and you want to go, I know now, like they probably didn't have time. Like the thought stayed in their head so long, they just did it.
Well,
Mine
when you
went,
feel that, like, I mean, I understand going like it's selfish if you like. I understand because I think when you're calling somebody selfish for doing it, it's coming from a place of you're angry they did it right, and you're mad, and you're probably feeling survivor's guilt and guilt that you didn't see the signs and all of that as well. But when somebody's so all consumed with depression and all of this stuff, and they're not thinking clearly, they're not in their right mind. So you're putting a rational action into an irrational mind. Yeah. Because to be selfish goes, I know what this is going to do to people. I'm going to knowingly do this to people, but that's not where their mind's at. So that's why I think it's like their mind isn't in the right place. But I always wonder how many times people have gone to hurt themselves and they're doing it, or like, right, they've stepped off the curb or in front of the train or whatever, and in that moment gone, fuck. But it's too late. Well,
that after I had that thought, I was like, I'm going to go to therapy. I couldn't afford therapy at the time. The pandemic had just happened. But I was like, I'm
good for you, though, for making it a priority.
I have to do this, yeah. And, actually, no, sorry, I'm lying. I could have... This was just before the pandemic.
You're like, oh, I didn't go to therapy. I'm lying. I went shopping. Sorry. I forgot. It was shopping. I went shopping.
I had sex with someone else. That's what it was.
I had an orgy and I went shopping. But it's like therapy, so...
Oh, it was retail therapy.
Retail therapy.
I forgot.
Yes. Oh, my God. But like, cutest Burberry jumper you've ever seen, bitch.
No, because this is the thing. I had two therapists, because the first one I started fucking falling for, and I was like, oh, there's a weird sexual chemistry. But so it was just before the pandemic, and then I remember. So after that happened, I was like, I'm going to go to therapy, and I was quite lucky at that point to be able to afford a private therapist. Yeah. So I just went and got one straight away, and then. But going back to what I was saying, like it's so easy. You know when people are like, you know, this happened to you, but look how it's changed you, and look how, and that's why I go, the landing wasn't worth the fall. Like I love that. You know, I wish it had never happened. I do wish I'd never met him. However, I definitely am more open, and I'm more authentically probably me. I'm, you know, I've still got that show mode, but
I mean, we do. Hello. We are. That's just the nature of this.
But also, one of the big things, and this used to upset me, was. Because I was always terrified that I wouldn't be a good boyfriend. I had this weird thing where I was like, am I obsessed with myself? Like, is it all about me? Like, will I be, because, you know, I'm not very affectionate. I was always very guarded and whatever. And that was one thing he said. He was like, you were amazing. And I was like, yeah, I was a fucking great boyfriend. And I was, if anything, just giving everything I could to try and make this person love me against all the odds.
So imagine how good of a boyfriend you will be when somebody can match that energy and give it back to you. And I feel like, yes, the landing's not worth the fall, but it's taught you what you deserve, what you will not stand for anymore. And I do try to look at things. I'm not like, oh my God, that was so worth the journey. But like, because sometimes you're just like, no, getting fucking punched in the head wasn't worth the journey. But you have to go, it happened. I can't change the past. And what can I learn from it?
Of course. And what I learned from it, you know, was that and has made me excited to go, actually, relationships aren't, you know, terrifyingly scary. Like, I have a lot of anger and resentment towards him because he knew how vulnerable I was and how scared of relationships I was, and scared of kind of getting hurt. And then I was like, oh, here we go. I've got just.
So it makes me think he was smarter than you're giving him credit for.
Well, possibly. But I also learned a lot about, like, I sometimes am quite impulsive. So like during the kind of, I wish I was quite angry, and I've been quite angry at him for a while. And there's still bits of it now. I'm kind of, it's a while ago, but it's festered for quite some time. But, you know, I always remember I was on the phone to him once, and I was, because I couldn't get through to him. It was like, he just would not listen to reason. And you know, when you're giving someone pure fact and you're like, this is what you've done, like, hello. And I just wanted him to go, yeah, sorry about that. I was a bit of a dick, like, but this. And I remember I was really angry at it. And I'll never forget the time when I was like, do you know what? You're a fucking little fucking, see you next Tuesday. I was like, every swear word under the sun. I was pure abuse to him down the phone, to the point where he eventually hung up on me. Yeah. And then I rang him back and I was like, how could you be so cruel to hang up on me? That crossed the line after I just literally.
After you berated him and abused him.
I was like, you have just gone way too far. Like, after I'm going, you fucking this, you fucking bad.
Oh my God.
So there are definite moments where I look back, and that was the psycho behavior of where I was like, I'm acting like a 16-year-old girl, like, or I was just, and my therapist was like, you have this impulsivity. This is one of the things I learned about myself during Theza, is the impulsivity and I can't bear injustice. So even if I see it or
same,
it happens to me, I have this urge. And she was like, I told her about this time that I stopped someone being like mugged, and I saw him, well, not mugged, but he was kind of pickpocketing her handbag, and I like ran up to him, pushed him against this wall, and then after I saw him hit the wall, he like looked at me with death in his eyes, and he was twice the size of me, and I remember thinking, this is where I die. And she was like, we need to work on when you can be impulsive, and buying a t-shirt that you don't need is maybe not that bad, but starting on someone twice your size.
I can't help myself either. I literally, this weekend, I was in Manchester on Sunday night gigging, had not eaten like all day, went to a chip shop after the gig. There was a guy in there with like his girlfriend, and the guy at the counter, all the guys that work there, in those kind of places, they're fucking working all night long. They're dealing with drunks. They're dealing with awful people. These guys are nice. And then I go to pay, and he goes, oh, sorry, honey, like it's cash only. And I was like, So I look, and I'm like a pound short. And I'm like, you know what? Let me order something else. I'll order something else on it. And he goes, no, you come back another time, drop another pound. It's all good. I got you. And I was like, you were so nice. And this big guy comes up and goes, you got my girlfriend's order wrong. Are you fucking kidding me? You fucking this and fucking. And then he's like, and I went, nope. And I was like, look at you, you fucking pathetic piece of shit excuse for a man. You think you're a fucking big man because your fucking loser girlfriend ordered the wrong fucking thing? Look, she's drunk out of her fucking mind. She'll shove her face with it. She doesn't fucking care. And I went mental. And then he got in my face, and he's going like this. I'm like, get your fucking finger out of my face. And he's like 6'4". Yeah. And then this like fabulous man in a beautiful pearl necklace who had just come from one of Manchester's beloved gay bars, who was this tall, kind of lanky guy. He's like, do not step to her because you will step through me. And I was like, I love you so much. And then these three drunk girls are like, yeah. And then so it's all of us against him. And then the owner of the shop gives him his money back, and he's like, give me your food back, get out. And then he's like, fuck you guys. And we all just like booed him basically out of this thing and told him to go fuck himself. But I could not, it boils within me. And I could not help myself. I have that too. Yeah. Like it's,
and but that's what I had with him. So he'd text me and I'd just flip out. And what I have friends who are really good with is just going, I'll sleep on that. And
my God, no.
I'll reply tomorrow. Well, I wake up the next day and I'm reading the essay that I've sent. I'm like, for fuck's sake.
Yeah.
So, in the aftermath, I really do think I wish I had been a little bit more dignified in my silences. I wish I'd just kind of left him.
Yeah, I think silence says a lot.
It really doesn't. It's very powerful. But what I was desperately, desperately, desperately hoping for was some accountability and some holding up of his hand. And about 2.5 years later, he eventually, after he got back in touch. He decided after 2 years of just pretty much silence, he would send me a happy birthday message. Ugh. I know.
There's a great book by Nick Viall who does like sex and dating questions and stuff. And the title of his book is called Don't Text Your Ex Happy Birthday.
Yeah, okay.
And he's like, you don't need it. Don't engage with me. Like, but I just wish someone, no. What purpose is it serving? It's not serving a purpose. It's all ego.
Yeah, what it was for him, because I was like, out of interest, I said, you forgot my 30th birthday, because he never texted me, and I was like, and I was sad at that.
Yeah.
And he replied saying, sorry, I forgot it. If I would have remembered, I would have texted you. I was like, oh, well, that's lovely to hear.
Yeah.
Like, even more of a kick in the teeth.
Yeah, exactly. Like, what a piece of shit.
Yeah. Then the year after, he never texted. And then the year after, so my birthday just gone, which was July, not just gone, approaching my next. He texted, and I didn't reply for ages. And then I was like, out of interest, like, why did you text that? And he said, the climate crisis The war in Ukraine
Shut
and the
up.
energy crisis has made me realize life is short and I can't control things, but the things I can control, I want to. And I hate that there's, bad blood between us. And I was like, no, basically, what you want to do is you want to now pretend that everything's fine
Everything's
by me.
good.
And by you texting happy birthday to me, you're going, happy birthday. And I can't text back going, fuck off, you stupid cunt.
Exactly. Because he goes, I was the good guy. I left it on the happy. I said him happy.
Yeah.
I wish him well.
Yeah.
I'm the good one in it. Because of the war in Ukraine and the climate crisis.
I was like,
Shut the fuck up.
I was like, start a GoFundMe if you feel guilty about that.
Go
because
volunteer. Don't text your ex.
exactly.
Like, go fucking do humanitarian work in the Ukraine.
But what then happened is...
Oh my God, I hate this guy so much.
Yeah, he's such a
He's such a
then
loser.
what happened is we got in a conversation about stuff, but I took all the emotion out of it. And I sent him this real long spiel essay, as it always is, but there was no emotion in it. There was fact. And I remember saying to him, I said, out of interest, I said, do you remember the first time you ever told me you loved me? And he was like, no, I don't actually. And I was like, I didn't think you would. And I said, and I'm okay with that. Like, it would upset me before, but I'm okay with that. And I said, but I do. I said, I could tell you the tile I was stood on in the bathroom when you told me. And I said, because you told me when I took you to my best friend's, at the time, New Year's party. And we'd got home and we'd had an argument because I caught you in the bathroom texting your ex at the time, telling him that you still loved him and you missed him. And in doing that, you then told me for the first time that you loved me. And I said, and I remembered it. I said, because it was the first time anyone's ever told me that. And I was like, and it was. And I said, and do you remember the time when you told me that you wanted to spend the rest of your life with me? And I was like, the best thing that had ever happened to you. And he was like, no, I don't remember that. And I was like, I do. It's when I found out you cheated on me by going to a gay sauna. And I was like, and again, it was the first time that had ever happened to me. And I said, do you remember this time and this time? And eventually he went, no, you're right, I was an absolute dick. He was like, I'm sorry that I treated you that way. And there was just this, yes. Thank
Finally.
God you finally realize it.
Yeah.
And it changed me in the sense that I can talk openly about it now.
Yeah.
I'm okay about it. Like before I would burst into tears and just be like, but it is what it is. And I think it has made me, which I'm not giving him credit for.
No.
Way,
This
shape,
is
or
you.
form.
What you've gotten from it, it's your doing.
And it's made me open. It's made me realer. I used to be this guarded, kind of scared. And one of the big things is I've got a best friend called Amy, and one of the things that I love about her so much is she's so authentic. And I think in life, the minute you meet someone who is authentic, whether, regardless of what it is, authenticity to me now is just the best thing. It's the most attractive trait. Yeah. Because it's like you're you, and that's, I think, what has helped me. I mean, I'm still single, so it's not.
But you're ready to go.
But I'm ready.
Do you think you're ready for a new relationship?
Yes,
like ready to fully get in?
And in a good way, I'm not desperate for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really good.
But the trouble is now it's a fucking administrative task.
Oh my God. And with our job and like comedy, it's like you gig every night, you're working, you're busy. Like it's really hard in this industry to date. Yeah. And like, I'm assuming you wouldn't want to date a comedian or someone in the industry.
No.
Yeah, no, exactly. We want to date normal. Like, I feel like most people in this industry, well, some people like dating comedians, but like, no. I want to date somebody who's totally outside.
Do you know what I want to? I want to date someone who like finds it all a bit ridiculous.
Yeah,
but
well,
like,
that's what my boyfriend.
It.
No, my boyfriend finds it all. Like, I'll be like, oh my God, okay, so this happened and this happened, and he goes like, listen to yourself.
Yeah.
But
he's
like these people are.
I don't want him to be patronizing.
No. But he's just like this guy. He. I think he likes hearing the gossip, but he's also like reality check. This isn't real life. They're all nuts.
Yeah.
Your industry, they're feral, and they're all they're awful, feral, abusive people, and like you cannot take to heart all this shit. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, he just gives me good perspective checks on that kind of stuff. So yeah, I think it's a good balance for that.
Yeah, I don't want him to be like, oh, what's that? What? And coming to gigs all the time. I'd like him to like pop along and then be like, oh yeah, like, but then be like, no.
I get it.
Yeah, maybe working, I don't know, like law or a doctor or something.
Yeah.
Just fine.
Does his thing, has his own passions. I totally get it. Yeah.
Totally.
So let me ask you this.
Okay.
And this is the question I ask at the end of every podcast episode. If what is one thing that you hope never changes in your life?
What is one thing that I hope never changes in my life? I think I hope what I would say, the first thing that comes to mind, I'm just saying it. I think I would take a guess that I think I've laughed every single day of my life at least once.
Oh, that's amazing.
I thought this the other time, even through the deepest and depth of I think I've laughed at least once every day. And I hope that continues. I do have a real, not a zest for life, but I have moments where I feel very lucky that I've got a nice life.
Yeah.
And I do have a nice life, and we always think we can have better and whatever. But I just think I hope that never changes where I take it for granted.
I think that answer is beautiful. I had a woman come up to me after a show the other night, and she's like, thank you so much. Like, I haven't laughed like that in months. She's like, I don't remember the last time I was actually laughing. And it makes me really sad. I think as comedians, because we can make each other laugh and we're like, fuck around and stuff like that, we kind of take that for granted that people do go through their lives. I mean, to be fair, most comedians, like, they'll be like, ha ha ha, ha. They're like on an emotional, fucked up roller coaster, and that's me too. But people who genuinely, like, they go months without having like a hearty laugh is actually so heartbreaking.
Yeah, I don't think there's been a day where I haven't. I mean, maybe it's because I find myself hilarious. Even when I'm on my own.
Do you just look in the mirror and you're like, ha, 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 I'm brilliant and beautiful.
Yeah, but it's just, I think it's that. There's so many things. My life at the minute, touch wood, is wonderful. I'm really enjoying the place I'm in. And I was going to be cliche and say the thing that changed me the most was the pandemic, which it did. But it kind of is wrapped up in everything because I was going through the breakup. But I really learned to go, oh, this is so lovely. It's so nice. And aren't we lucky? And
I think, like, being able to just be appreciative, like, yes, you can want more and goals are good, and being driven and all of that and ambition, that's amazing. You have to have that in life. And passion, but like, it's also really good to live in the moment a bit and just appreciate what you have now and 100%. Not be constantly going, something better is out there and my life right now is not, because then you'll look back and go, oh, those were the good old days. I was living in them and I didn't even know I was living in the good old days.
I host something called Dabbers. It's like a boozy bingo.
Oh, yeah.
And
I've heard about that. I've never been asked to join.
You'd be great. I'll put you forward.
Okay, perfect.
But I mean, I don't do it loads, and it's one of them, and there's so many drunk people. But I was on stage the other week, and I was, I'd been going, oh, I'm knackered and blah, blah, blah. This is whatever gig. And they did a musical round where it was, I think it was Dancing Queen by ABBA came on. And I was just looking around at everyone just having a good time. And I thought, life's good. Like, I'm doing, I could be sat doing something I hate in an office, or when I worked at Tesco, for example. Not that, some people love doing that, but I was like, I'm doing all right. And I had this real moment where I was like, life's not bad.
Yeah, I have that when I'm like, get all complainy about like, oh, I got to train up to here, and then I'm training. I went from down from Manchester to Brighton the other week, and then back up to Manchester, and then back down to London. And
that is hideous.
And you're doing all of these, and your day is full of like travel and chaos and hotel rooms and all that. But at the same time, I'm like, I'm living and working as a full-time comedian and a full-time creative, which when I started doing comedy 7 years ago, I remember begging people just to give me an unpaid 5-minute spots. And now I have like the best clubs in the country that go, come on down and host for a weekend, or we'll fly you to here. I'm being flown to Ayia Napa tomorrow for a week to do comedy I have zero expense of my own to do it. And like, 7 years ago, when I started comedy, I would have never imagined that I could do that. So whenever there's that complaining, I do need to check myself.
Yeah, and you need to hang on, because like, you need to hang on to the thought that, no, I'm doing this because I'm good at it.
Yeah.
So you don't then be like, let them walk all over you.
Yeah.
But then you also hang on to like, oh, how far I've come. Like, and how, I remember being at 1 a.m. in a little danky, shitty train station waiting for the last tube home after I went and did a 5-minute spot as a tryout to 4 people.
And it costs you money to go there. Like, you don't even get paid. Like, I've gone to different places to do tryout spots. I went to Cardiff to do a tryout spot where I had to pay the hotel, the train, everything. So it cost me money to be like, please, please, please. And now I'm going, that's not enough for me to get out of bed on a Saturday night. And I'm like, can you imagine being in that position? And it's just crazy. And but you have to
It's all relative, isn't it? And
Yeah.
you know, you go along with it, but as long as you don't get ahead of yourself. But yeah, I'm loving life at the minute. I hope life doesn't change for the worse.
I hope it doesn't. Yeah, I think you're amazing.
Oh, thanks,
I just
Kate.
have like,
Have
I really.
waffled? I feel like I've just gone off on one. I could have talked for another hour.
Oh my gosh, I feel like we could talk for a very long time, but this is fantastic. Thank you so much. I love you loads. I'll tag you and everything. What's your podcast called that people need to listen to?
It's a weekly one. It's called Fab Life with Lauren and Lee, and it's total drivel, to be honest.
Well,
but
you know
in a good way.
As this is the same kind of the same shit. Thank you guys, everyone, for watching and listening. Please don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review. Thanks, everyone. Bye.